Okay, welcome to day 114 of trying to become a SOC analyst. Working on LetsDefend the IR pathway, so incident responder. We've got SOC310 XSL script execution via WMIC.EXE. I've taking a bit of a break from doing the daily alerts now because we've finished all the level 1 SOC alerts and we're only on the IR ones now. So they take a lot more of a time commitment. I don't have much time to study. If I spend, 2 hours doing the IRs every day, that's a lot of my study time getting eaten into. So just letting you know they might come out bi-weekly. So we've got this alert. I've assigned it to myself already. And if we open it up and have a look, it's medium severity. Level is incident responder. It was spawned by the process WMIC.EXE. Parent process was from command, which is a bit of a worry. And this is the command that triggered the alert. WMIC OS get /format and then a URL ending in a .xls. Detects execution of WMIC with the format flag to potentially load XSL files. Device action was allowed. We have escalation from level 1. I could not determine whether the command that caused the alert belonged to the attacker. However, I saw a brute force attempt from the IP. We've got an IP listed there minutes before the alert occurred. So let me get rid of the cam and we'll jump into it. Okay. I think the first thing actually is what I want to do is I want to go to LOLBin, WMIC, provides the command line interface for WMI. Got some signal rules and some indicators of compromise. And the format was the one that we were looking at. So create a volume shadow copy of ntds.dit. Well, that's not our scenario, but that's the usage call of it /format, and then you can get a URL. Okay. Copy file from source to destination. No, so that's not us. Okay. So that's how it's working. So it's living off the land binary. If we go to our alert, we have a couple of artifacts we can look at straight away. We have the URL that was pulled. So let's look at that in virus total. I don't seem to have a virus total, so I'll just get one up. Load the URL, see if it's flagged as malicious or not. Okay, so it has been flagged as malicious. We have crowdsourced content saying that it is SILENTBUILDER. SILENTBUILDER is a dropper and downloader used by the subgroup Conti. The MSI file downloaded appears to be a Notepad++ installer. Okay, we've got no community notes and detail lacking, but we do know it's malicious. We've got a serving IP. Okay. So the fact that it's a LOLBin with a malicious URL and a detected brute force just beforehand. So we probably don't need to investigate. Actually, we might grab the IP. Let's go to the network logs. Why none of my windows open? Oops. Basic search. Okay. So for this alert, it looks like we've got some OS level logs. So it's going to be event log, probably sysmon. We've got the remote desktop connections. So before we look into Sysmon, let's follow up this potential brute force that's mentioned in the alert. Let's grab the IP. We've got an abuse IP here. We'll check it there. Okay, so it's been reported 7 times, but it's geo-based Romania. We can probably assume in this Let's Defend scenario that they're not located in Romania, so that's suspicious. And what have they previously been flagged for? Brute forcing around the period of our alert. So another indicator. So let's have a look at the logs. So username targeting is Let's Defend. Let's Defend. These are all 4625, so they're failing or Let's Defend. So they're not spraying usernames, they're targeting the Let's Defend user. So it's brute force on the Let's Defend username. Okay, this is the firewall logs, so we'll skip that. OS. Okay, so we have a successful logon for user Let's Defend from the same IP. It looks like the brute force was successful. Okay, where were we? Sorry, my daughter interrupted me. Oh, we found the successful login from the malicious IP after a brute force. So now let's go back to the logs. And now let's see what happened once the login occurred. So these will be our sysmon logs or some event logs. So event 1, so it is going to be sysmon. So they've done ARP -A, so that's recon. And it's also from CMD, so it's hands on keyboard. Got netstat -A, so more recon. Net local group administrators. And then we see our trigger, and again the parent process CMD, so it is a hands-on keyboard. They're in remote desktop and they've opened up command and they're running it, and we know that that's malicious. So what happens after this? PowerShell start process command run as, and then who am I checking their privileges? Okay. We had the firewall logs we can ignore. 4th of August. Firewalls, we've got another OS entry here. Oh, sorry, that was our remote desktop logon. We have another OS entry down here. Audit log was cleared, so that's a big worry. And another OS log. Another who am I and what groups. Okay. So let's start the playbook. So start playbook. Verify that it was caused by malicious activity. Okay, so we have the URL's malicious, the IP is malicious, there's a brute force successful login. So we definitely have to isolate the machine regardless of what happens here. Review alert details, check, identify the types of logs, signs for evasion, firewall logs, proxy logs, sysmon. Okay, so we've gone through those. Review alert details in the investigation channel. Behavioral analysis focuses on understanding typical defense evasion behaviors across system networks by establishing baseline for normal activity. Okay, so we know it's not normal activity. identify potential defense evasion activity on the process or network. To identify potential defense evasion activity, monitor log management page. Well, we saw the audit log cleared here. Audit log was cleared, and it's 2 minutes after their initial brute force login was successful. So it's right in our attack window. Determine the operating system. Okay, do we have an endpoint here? I might need to grab the IP again. Let's load up the endpoint of, oh yeah, Ambros, it was something like that. Going to contain the machine now because I know we're going to need to do it anyway. Just based on the password leak alone, so it doesn't really matter what comes from here, we definitely need it contained. What is our current playbook? It is determine the operating system, so Windows 10. So it's Windows. The following points can be determined to detect discovery actions, look for abnormal patterns. So we saw processes running from CMD. We saw lots of recon. In terms of bypass or security controls, we saw the clearing of the log. Analyze security logs. Okay. So we can connect to the VM. Select all the chairs. Let that load. While that's loading, let's have a peek around. SILcollector.cmd spawn from command. We've got 12 pages of processes, so I might not go through all of these, but we do need to wait for the VM to spawn. Maybe just a quick click through, see if anything jumps out at us while we're waiting, and then we can look in Sysmon maybe a bit easier. There's another LOLBin, but it looks legitimate. Lots of Google updates. Oh, does that look a bit suspicious? Let's see these Google updates. It's strange Google install folder. Google update. It is reaching out to Google. Okay, maybe it's nothing. It just seemed like an odd program file Google and then like the build number. I might just, oh, we don't have the option on this one. Chrome. Okay, has the VM, it's still 50%. Let that keep ticking along. In fact, we could skip on to the next step of the playbook while we're waiting for this to load. Although we do only have 5 pages to go, let's finish this off. The win logons. There's a scheduled task running on, that's okay. Explorer. These are going to be the CMD. Yeah, commands that we saw, like the who am I. Yeah, okay, so we've already seen those in the logs. Net view domain. are. So again, these are the ones that we've seen. And this is at the same time as our attack too. Okay. So I feel like let's open that in a new tab. We have 2 pages left of processes. Let's just continue to have a quick look. I'm still personally suspicious of this updater. Might be legitimate, but CMD, that's the net stat. Okay, the net user, local group admin. So these are the commands that we've already seen in the sysmon logs. But local group admin, just to make sure, I've had a couple of cases where some of the logs aren't showing up in sysmon and then you see them on the interface. So 150 again, the Chrome. $150, and that's the first CMD. Oh, that's a LOLBin. Okay, that's what sets everything off. So this Chrome that I'm worried about is ran before. Our LOLBin is run 6 seconds later. Okay. All right, what was our plan here? Okay, they want us to look at the security log. Uh, 4688. I think our chain's pretty clear. I'm not sure we need to bother, but let's follow the playbook. Event. Okay, they wanted security log. They wanted to filter to, was it 4688? Uh, 4688. Okay, 4688. Our attack was logging at 150, wasn't it? 150, 12th of March. Okay. $150. Oh, do we have, looks like the logs. Let's page it up through these. Oh, because remember our audit log was cleared too, so. What was our, oh, August, sorry, I got the dates wrong. 12th of August, so in American, you guys do the 8 first, right? I'm from Australia, so for me the date's 12/8/24. So that's the confusing part. Okay. So we're in our window. Our window started at 50. So let's see what we've got going on here. Does this not get any bigger? Okay. Okay, is this our process? I think it is. 50. Oh, that's wrong one. Here, right? No. Where is this mon entry? Is it here? Okay. Yeah, 150. Okay. So what I want to look for is what's happened around the time after our LOLBin has been ran. Who's running that? Oh. All right, let's click through next before we... I don't want to waste everyone's time looking through all the logs. Analyze process creation and service installed. 7045. Let's just filter that for a second. 7045. Okay, no logs there. I feel like I have a pretty good idea of the chain, but let's go next to see what's happening first. So determine the type of defensive evasion techniques leveraging exploitation and external influence. Based on the analysis conducted on the endpoint and log management, which defensive evasion techniques does their attack involve? Okay. Well, in fact, I have defensive up from my last alert. Yeah, so we might have to go through the logs a little bit more then to make sure. Unless we're saying the audit clear is the defensive. All right, back on the endpoint. Four, 6, 8, 8. what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through, because there's so many logs here, I don't want to waste everyone's time while I page up through the logs to try and find anything interesting. I'm going to pause the video while I go through the logs and have a look. Okay, so I've been looking through the logs. I can't find much, but then when I was flicking back to the defensive evasion, I think I'm looking at the question incorrectly. I was thinking, what defensive evasion techniques were they using to avoid detection? But it's leveraging exploitation and external influence. So it's the LOLBin grabbing the XSL script from that URL that we saw in VirusTotal. And, excuse me, on the endpoint, it looks like the LOLBin, when it's grabbed via that WMIC process, it loads it into memory that we saw in the LOLBAS page. So is that going to make it harder to track it down? Probably will. So I think we're going to say it was, I've already clicked next on the playbook for that. During their investigation, use log management and event endpoint security to hunt their attackers' IOCs. Have you encountered any IOCs? Yes. So as we were talking about, this is a WMIC script.XSL. So, and we've got the malicious IP that brute force. So is it suspicious? Yes, both are flagged as malicious. Determine the scope. On endpoint security, log management, and email security systems, examine the IOCs identified during their investigation. Are they present on other devices? Okay. Actually, I'd like to do that in another window so we can keep those logs open. So let's grab our URL. And we'll put that as a raw log. So we only have one hit there. And that's from our endpoint. And the other indicator of compromise that we have is this brute force IP. So we can also go back to the logs there. I'll swap the basic and we can search the IP. Okay, so all .13, this is the remote desktop, all .13 and all .13. So we're safe there. So the scope, is there more than one affected device? No. Should the device be isolated? Yes, because purely based on the brute force was successful in LetsDefend, rotating passwords alone needs to be contained. That's how their playbook works. So we need to contain it based on that. But also it does look like there's a malicious process loaded into memory. So we want to contain there as well. Okay. So next, add our artifacts. Okay, we might be getting to the end. Normally they try to tell you to eradicate. So we had the IP and we had the URL or our main indicators. In terms of hands-on keyboard, they ran a lot of recon, but it doesn't look like there was any elevation or any persistence yet. We might get that as the next question. Brute force, IP, LOLBin. Oh, okay, we don't get that as an option. So these incident response ones, I'm still learning what's going on with them. Sometimes the case is full on where you need to eradicate all artifacts on the endpoint, or there's a full attack kill chain from entry through to Privesc. This one doesn't seem to be that's the case. I'll pause the video and write some notes. Hang on. Okay, so I've written up some notes, mapped it to the MITRE attack techniques. We've got credential access, brute force, lateral movement, remote services, remote desktop, execution, command and control scripting, interpreter, Windows command shell, discovery system, owner/user discovery, discovery system, network connections discovery, discovery system, network configuration discovery, relating to all the recon, discovery, permission groups, local groups, defensive evasion is that XSL script processing. What? RDP brute force from 146.70.246.119 against user LetsDefend on host Amberines. Brute force confirmed malicious via abuse IP database. Attack resulted in successful remote desktop login. Attacker conducted hands-on keyboard recon. Example, ARP-A, netstat-AN, net local group administrators, who am I, run as PowerShell, then executed a WMIC LOLBin attack to load a remote XSL script via the HTTP format flag. URL flagged malicious, 2 of the flags on VirusTotal, and linked to silent builders, a dropper/downloader used by Conti subgroup. No additional inbound or outbound connections were observed. Endpoint contained. So when, we've got the timestamp. Where, we've got the host name, Ambrosine, the 172 internal IP, the process path for the WMIC, the parent process was cmd.exe, and the directory it was ran from. The attacker IP was 146.70.246.119, confirmed malicious on abuse IP database, compromised users LetsDefend, local account gained access via RDP brute force. And then we've got the Y, WMIC/format used to fetch and execute remote XSL, a known LOLBin technique to bypass defenses and run arbitrary code. Payload URL associated with SILENTBUILDER, Conti subgroup, dropper/downloader, device action was allowed at time of execution, endpoint has been contained, true positive, incident confirmed. Command, and this is what flagged our alert. So let's copy our notes, finish the playbook, and close alert, true positive, paste in our notes. And let's see how we went. IOC reputation check. The relevant IP is located in Romania. Yeah. And is part of a VPN IP network. No risk records were found in either abuse IP database or VirusTotal. However, IPs in VPN IP blocks are used by various users. Therefore, it is incorrect to disregard the alert solely because there is no replication record. Instead of relying on the reputation records, the behavior of the IP should be examined. But isn't that confirming what I said? That I had reports that the IP was geo-based in Romania, and I said that it had been flagged for brute force. Did I not answer yes to it being malicious? I'll have to go back and watch the video. When I read this, the relevant IP is located in Romania. I mentioned that, and is part of a VPN IP network. I didn't know that. No risk records were found. Well, there were when I looked them up. And then it says, however, IPs in VPN IP are used by various users. Therefore, it is incorrect to disregard their alert solely because there is no reputation record. I'll have to go through the video and check. Anyway, that's 5 points off. Everything else was correct. Let's go through it. Was a true positive? Yes. The device should be isolated? Yes. Define the scope. There was no other signs of compromise or signs of the. What was the question? Define the scope. Is there any other endpoints that interacted with the IOCs? The answer was no. IOC reputation check. I'm sure I said malicious, but when I read the guide there, it sounds like that was the correct answer, so I'm not sure. I'll have to go over that. Unless this is IOC analysis. Was it malicious? Yeah, I said yes to that, so maybe this was a different question. Determine the type of defenses. So we realized late that it was the XSL that they were talking about, and determine the operating system. So pretty straightforward. There is a PDF from LetsDefend. Once you complete an alert, you're able to see their official write-up. So let's just skip to the IP check. You should check the reputation records. So when they checked it, there was no records, but when I checked it on abuse database, there was. So I understand what they're saying here. When it's a clean IP, it doesn't necessarily mean it's clean. You need to, look at the geolocation. Yeah, so I get all that. I'm just not sure. I must have answered the question incorrectly. And this is just going through what we've gone through. I wonder if there's anything that I missed in terms of persistence. This is interesting. I did mention this WEC, and then I quickly pivoted off it. But they're saying that it looks like, oh, okay, that was how they cleared the logs. Okay, so we already saw that in the sysmon for the audit, so that's fine. Yeah, the clear log. Okay. Yeah, all right. Well, here's the question. Check their attacker's IOC reputation. You can use the following. Is it suspicious or not? Okay, they said no because at the time of reporting, when you checked virus total or abuse IP, there were no records, I'm guessing. So the answer is no. But then that also doesn't fit with what they're telling us here. Well, I said yes. I'll just read this again. Sorry, I mean, you stop the video now, we're done, but a bit confused here. IOC reputation check. So I checked it, and I said it was found 7 times, and it was brute force that it was flagged for a year ago, which was I fell for my own trick. The reason I use abuse IP is because of the historical records that they have. And normally I love the fact that I can check, because I'm doing alerts from 2024 or 2021, I can check the dates and get an idea if it was flagged at malicious at the time of recording. And of course, I have not done that on this report. I've just quickly looked and saw, 2024 brute force. But if we look closer, it was flagged for brute force a month after our alert. So, okay, that's what's gone wrong. As of the time of them releasing this lab, the IP would have been clean. So my answer, where's that PDF gone? Where did that PDF go? Here. At the time of recording, it would not have been suspicious. However, I still would have said it was suspicious because it was Romanian based. Yeah, okay. I might need to look into this a bit further. I'm still a bit confused. I feel like their feedback is saying, however, in ISPs, in VPN, IP blocks are used for various uses. Therefore, it is incorrect to disregard their alert solely because there's no reputation recorded. Instead of relying on reputation records, the behavior of the IP should be examined. And the behavior of the IP was suspicious. It was brute forcing from another geolocation. So the answer should be yes, which is what I selected. But then you read the official PDF and they're saying you should answer no. But then they're giving, I don't, it's conflicting. I'm going to go through the video again and see what I did select. I'm just wasting time if I actually did select no and then it would all fit. So determine the scope, we went through that. Should it be isolated, we went through that. It does not look like I missed anything. We've got the Windows logs cleared that we saw in Sysmon. We've got the brute force. We've got bypass user access control. That's the run as. We've got the LOLBin and valid accounts remote access, yeah. And artifacts, what did I miss? Endpoint, IP, URLs. I think we got everything. So apart from making the mistake with whatever's going on with this IOC reputation check, overall it's a good alert. It's not the normal incident responder alert that I'm used to. It seems to be some of them are really in-depth, some of them aren't. We'll leave it at that. I've already wasted so much time babbling about this, so I apologize for that. It is just a little confusing. So I might have to try and watch the video again and see what happened here. But I'll take a 5 point loss, and yeah, we'll see you on the next day, day 115. Thanks for watching.